Well, the left wants power, as you know. It's a given. It's the whole reason for existing, really. The problem is finding a good excuse for seizing power. These days, one of their favorite excuses is climate change, something they're unwilling to precisely define, and for good reason. Over the weekend, John Kerry launched a new anti-global warming coalition called World War Zero. Fighting for the climate is just as important as beating Adolf Hitler, they told us. And the only way to win this war, of course, is to give the left total control over the economy, your country, and your life. But are voters actually ready to give up power over their own life to John Kerry and friends? A new poll suggests maybe they're not. Justin Haskins is editorial director at the Heartland Institute, and he joins us today. Justin, thanks so much for coming on. So give us a sense of the public's view of this. John Kerry and others are totally unwilling to have a conversation rooted in science about climate change. Instead, they speak in airy and hysterical generalities. But their claim is they need to be in charge or else the world ends. What does the public think of that?
Yeah, well, what we found in our recent poll is that less than half of all likely voters, despite all of the efforts in Hollywood by the left, all of the efforts in academia, all the efforts by political losers like John Kerry to try to convince people that there's an existential climate change crisis headed our way at 80 years into the future, or just 12 years into the future if you believe Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, despite all of that, less than half of likely voters say that they believe that there is a human-caused climate change crisis. And it's much less than half of independents. These are the people that Democrats need to win. I mean, I don't mean to give them political advice, but if they need to win these people over, if they have any chance at all of winning in 2020, and yet they don't seem to get that memo.
What I don't understand is if this is World War Zero, it's a world war against climate change. The single largest polluter, emitter of CO2 by far is China. So we should be at war with China, and yet these are the apologists for China. This doesn't make any sense to me, Justin Haskins. Try to unravel it if you would.
Yeah, no, it makes absolutely no sense. John Kerry said that they need to mobilize an army. Mobilize an army. Well, here's what you could do with that army, John Kerry. Invade China. Yeah. Invade India. Because those are the people who are producing significantly more CO2 emissions than we are here in the United States.
So are they for
I don't
that?
believe that human CO2 emissions are causing a climate crisis. No, of course not.
So they're for declaring war on ourselves, but they're not for declaring war on the people who are causing this crisis.
Absolutely. They would do anything for political power, which is what this is all about. This has nothing to do with saving the planet from a climate crisis, because they know that even if you believe that CO2 emissions are causing that, and I don't believe that it is, but even if you believe that, they know that there's nothing we can do here in the United States. Absolutely nothing. Nothing that Europe can do. Absolutely nothing. It is all in the hands of China and India and countries like that, and yet you never hear John Kerry speak a word about that. It's all about what the United States has to do. He wants us to commit economic suicide in order for him to have more political power. Ultimately, that's what this is all about.
It's interesting. You saw Mike Bloomberg in tape that we played earlier in the show make excuses for the fact that China is building new coal-powered power plants. But that's okay with Mike Bloomberg, even as he tells us that he's concerned about the existential threat of climate change. I mean, it's honestly confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing if you're trying to approach this with logic. This isn't logical. Right. This is all about power and control. And right now, China is not a convenient enemy. A convenient enemy is Russia. So if Russia was doing all of this, then you can bet that the narrative would be completely different.
But they're not. Yeah, vodka making doesn't cause a lot of CO2. Justin Haskins, great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.
Well, cities across